Hello everyone, I'm John Evans of WECT News, and this is the debut of Backstory. We're putting this together to give you an idea of what goes into getting a news story, something that you see on our broadcast on a nightly basis. But since this is going to be a podcast, let's take away the video and let you listen to this backstory. It's about one of the biggest stories we've covered so far this year. Thursday, February 12th, one day after the $560 million Powerball lottery drawing took place, the country learned 3 winning tickets were sold and 1 was sold in North Carolina. Through news releases that morning, we first learned that ticket was sold in Brunswick County. Then through a company news release, we learned it came from a Scotchman store in Charlotte. Here's what our coverage sounded like at 6 o'clock. And we're beginning tonight with breaking news as we have heard from the woman in Brunswick County who may be $188 million richer.
Marie Holmes purchased this ticket just yesterday. Here are the winning numbers right here. She is now a winner, and just minutes ago she talked with our reporter.
And I want to get right to what you guys want to know. Who won the money? So let's bring in Janae Frazier, who has the exclusive on what happened, who won the money. Janae, tell us what happened.
Casey, Marie Holmes has that winning ticket. I just met with her. She doesn't usually play the lottery, but she heard about how much it was, so she thought, why not? She never thought that she would be one of the winners. And when she found out that she won, she ran and screamed and said, oh my goodness, we don't have to struggle anymore, because get this, she's a 26-year-old mother of 4. She's unemployed and has had to struggle for a lot of her life. So now she's just so thankful that she's able to take care of her family and her kids, and she no longer has to struggle anymore. Hear what she had to say.
This is all for them. Like, everything is all for them. All the struggle that I ever went through, it was all for them. And I just want them to understand that money doesn't change you, but it can help you, so they don't have to worry about debt, none of that. Like, they can go to college, all on me, and they don't have to worry about nothing. And I'm glad I can do that for them.
Of course, she's going to help her family. She also tells me she's going to make sure she tithes that money, because she says she knows that none of this would be possible if it were not for God. She's also now on her way with her family to Raleigh to meet with financial advisors. So exciting here in Charlotte, but we're going to pass it back on to you.
So as you heard, we tracked down the woman who had the winning ticket. Here's my conversation with 2 reporters who helped make it happen, Janae Frazier and Casey Roman. How did you get involved with this whole story once we found out the lottery ticket was sold in Brunswick County in Charlotte?
Right, so I came in and we were already down in Brunswick County. Casey was there, and because we knew it was at the Scotchman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got a Facebook message from a viewer that said, I think I work with the lottery winner's mom. And I asked if I could talk to the mom, and he just said, I don't know too much, and they're not really sure, but I do think the name is Holmes. The last name is Holmes. And so I said, well, can you get a little bit more information? So then we got Marie. And so, I mean, it was really easy. I just typed in Marie Holmes into Facebook, and, a ton of names popped up. And then from there, looking for who was in Brunswick County or Supply, and that got down to like 2 people. And so I just very cautiously sent her a note like, this is probably a long shot, but might you have won the Powerball? And she responded yes, and that was it.
And your thoughts then had to be?
No, you didn't. I really didn't believe that it would be that easy to find her. Plus, usually the lottery, people don't really talk about it initially. And certainly the North Carolina lottery doesn't tell you who won. So we went back and forth for a little bit, and then it got really exciting in the newsroom because we thought that maybe this was the person.
So basically, once we made contact, the surprise in her responding, number 1 had to be, hey, I think I have talked to this person, right?
Yeah, so I told Scott, our boss, I said, I think I am talking to the Powerball winner. And so Scott and I were just kind of freaked out as if it was her, if it wasn't, and there was certainly a lot of concern that maybe it was just somebody who was, kind of egging us on. So we had to somehow confirm that across Facebook. In the meantime, I had asked her if she would talk to us. I assumed that that's where the conversation was going to completely end. She agreed. We
Right.
talked very shortly on the phone. I was tripping all over myself because, it was, that was a big deal. Like, the Powerball winner is in North Carolina, and now I have her cell phone number. So that's when Janae got in the car and made the swiftest drive to Shalom probably ever made in the history of WCT. And then to kind of confirm, I asked her if she would send a picture of the ticket. And I didn't hear from her for a little while, and then my phone beeped, and there it is, the winning Powerball ticket. So then it got really, really exciting. But still, nobody's sure. And images are really dicey to take because everyone has Photoshop and the ability to just kind of pull things off the internet. So we were on standby, and Scott and I were very tensely waiting to announce it, but also waiting for Janae to get down to Charlotte so we could take the picture on my cell phone and match it with the picture that Janae emailed back. And when Janae sent back an email that had the exact same ticket, Scott and I were tripping over each other,
Yeah.
pushing people out of the way to get back to our desks to make the announcement that we did in fact know who it was, and she was going to talk to us.
Yeah, so tell me, Janae, about that. Obviously, here you are. This is one of 3 tickets sold to a $560 million lottery, the biggest story for a lot of people in the country, and you're making a beeline to this young lady in Brunswick County. What was that like?
It was so exciting. Scott just went around and said, who wants to go down? And I was working on a package, but I was like, wait, I want to do this. So I asked Ryan to finish my package up about a Wilmington native who had just received a stamp. And I got in the car, I called Marie and just kind of talked to her a little bit, see how she was doing, see just if she was excited or not. She was really calm about it, really chill. And so then when I got out of the car, I saw her and we interviewed, and I was a little nervous because she didn't have the ticket just when I arrived. She had given it to her cousin to hold for her because she was scared that she was going to lose it. So I was a little nervous about that, but we did the interview. She got a little personal with me, a little emotional with me, telling me that she wanted her grandmother to be there to see that she didn't have to struggle anymore because her grandmother helped raise her and had just made such a great impact on her. So that really stood out to me, that she's hoping that her grandmother is looking down on her and is proud of her and her family, that they no longer have to struggle, that they finally made it out. And she told me about, how she lost her jobs because she had to take care of her child that had cerebral palsy. She has 4 kids and, of course, was unemployed at the time. So I just was bursting inside the whole time because this really is a miracle for her. It's a godsend. It really is. Stuff like this doesn't happen just every day. And then when her cousin got there with the ticket, I totally flipped out. I was like, oh my goodness, you're 26 years old and you're a millionaire. And her cousin was so excited as well. And then I rushed in the car and got to the Scotchman, and we did our live shots and reported on it. And I do feel so excited that I am the only person that has been able to get an on-camera interview with her still to this day.
Was there any, during this whole process, you get out, she doesn't have the ticket, was there, I would have to say that there would be a little bit of, you'd have to be questioning this whole thing at some point in time. Were you?
I was, every time her phone would ring, I said, is that your cousin? Is that your cousin? Or if I heard a car go by, I was like, wait, is that your cousin? And she said, no, he's coming, don't worry. And I even asked her, why did you let him hold the ticket? And she said, I just really didn't want to lose it. I signed the ticket, I trust him with it more than myself. So I was like, okay. And then when he got there, it was like, oh, huge weight was lifted off me. I'm like, okay, yes, this is happening for real now. So
Mm-hmm. You've done a lot of stories. You've been here for a couple of years now. You've done a lot of stories. Ever have any that were any more emotional for you than this one?
No, I guess interviewing Patrick Peoples, the young man who basically got into all of the Ivy League schools,
Right. Yeah.
is up there for me. But I think this one passes it just because her entire life is about to change. She has 4 kids. She's 26 years old. I feel like so many people hear that and they may say, oh, she's just someone who depends on the government to take care of her and her kids. I think she's someone that society sometimes ignores or says is a disgrace or a disappointment. And now she's a millionaire. So for me, that's what really touched my heart. And when she said that the first thing that she's going to do is tithe because none of this would be possible without God, it just touches me so personally because I am also, you know, very religious, and just to see this, it feels like God is doing this for a reason and for a purpose.
The one thing I think, Casey, that I remember all of us in the newsroom talking about was that part, the tithe, and when she said that. But also, it's the first time I've ever covered one of these winners personally. Scott has before. How about you? Is this different than anything else you've ever covered?
No, well, I think in that the whole country was looking at Southport and what we were doing, and everyone was interested in what was going on right here in our backyard. That made it very different from anything else, and it was exciting. I mean, whether you're jealous of her or happy for her or whatever, I mean, like Janae said, everything that she's known for 26 years will be very different, and that's, I think, what makes our job so special, is that we have the rare opportunity to be there for the biggest moments in other people's lives. And this, I mean, what could be more tectonic in somebody's lifespan than going from where she was to however many millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. Did you made sure when you were looking through the viewfinder, Janae, doing that interview, make sure that record was pressed, make sure that everything was working properly? I know sometimes we have to do those interviews in a flash, but this is one that you, I would imagine, didn't want anything to go wrong with.
Yeah, I was really careful. I was shaking a bit during it, and then when the ticket was there, I had her read it, and then I had to make sure, I was making sure that that was the right ticket. I just wanted everything to go right, so I was very on my P's and Q's while I was out there, yeah.
And then you go back to the Scotchman and get ready to go on the air. Now, we had already put this, I think, on Twitter and maybe Facebook at this point in time, but you're getting ready to go on the air with the interview that everybody wants to hear. And everybody wants to see this young lady. That live shot any different than any others you've done?
Yeah, I was grinning and smiling from ear to ear. I thought I'm surprised I knew what I was saying, because I was just so excited for her and just for the great changes that are about to happen in her life and her kids' life. So I was full of energy. I thought I was a little too much, but I got some great emails from Scott and another one of my coworkers just saying that my energy was great and it was fitting for this story. But yeah, it was one of my most exciting live shots. Correction, the most exciting live shot that I've ever done. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful that I had that experience.
It's amazing the levels of experience that the three of us have had. You're fairly new to the industry, Janae. Casey, you've been in it for a little while. I've been in it for longer. It's still, though, one of those stories that no matter how long you're in it, it's one of the most exciting things, one of the things I'll never forget in my career.
Oh, yeah.
Because just of in the social media aspect of it taking off differently. What did you saw that happen from your desk almost, really, didn't you?
And that was when Janae and everybody else was down reporting with her, and then when you got that phone call in the newsroom where everyone was asking, how on earth did you find this woman? And I mean, and the way that we got in touch with her really says a lot about how news works now. I think definitely in just the years that I've been doing it. I mean, once upon a time, it was just a phone call that you could make to a newsroom, and then it was email and phone, and then in the time that I've been here, now we have Facebook and social media, and so what I think at one point maybe newsrooms seemed the people were, you couldn't really connect with them, or you'd have to kind of go out of your way. Like, we are all really accessible, extremely accessible, and that has very much changed how we get news and find people to do stories on. And I think we frequently hear in the newsroom where viewers will ask, well, why weren't you at, or why didn't I see on the news? We're a pretty small team. But when something like this happens, it really does show just how connected you can be, both reporters and anchors to viewers, but also our viewers to us. And it was as simple as he wasn't sure, but he sent me a message, and through that, I mean, in literally 5 minutes, we found the Powerball winner.
Right.
And so I think that says an awful lot about how social media has changed just how much we interact directly with the people who we tell stories about and also who tell us where the stories are.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that you used social media literally to reach out to this young lady. I mean, obviously she called you, but social media was the avenue to connect to
Right.
this young lady.
And
so
how much more accessible, let me say it again, how much more accessible is that when you see, when you see a number that comes across your phone that you don't know, you might not pick it up. But when it's a name and a face and you can see a person, and I mean, there is something that, ironically, even though how distant it is a little bit more personal about making that connection on a platform that is visual than I'm just calling a random phone number and trying to say, I'm Casey from WECT, and just, hey,
Right.
I mean, we were able to, in some short way, get to know each other over the span of a couple minutes and a couple messages. And, from that, we got one of the most memorable stories, certainly of this year and probably for several years.
yeah, that's a little bit of the backstory to the biggest story that we've covered here in the WECT newsroom in the last week or so. Janae Frazier, Casey Roman, thanks for joining me in the audio booth.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.